Showing us we're live now.
We are live. Hi, welcome to MMA UK with me, Danny Brough. I'm joined with 12 Gauge MMA's head coach, Matthew Thorpe. How's it going, Matt? You okay?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I know you're extremely used to these live streams now with all the training videos you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. You know, I've been on Facebook Live and Zoom quite a lot recently, so I'm getting used to this technology quite quickly. Wasn't something I didn't think I'd have to get used to. You know, teaching martial arts, you don't think it's going to be on the computer so much, but you know, the way it is at the minute, we've had to get used to it. So yeah, I'm getting there now.
Or film director, editor.
Yeah. A bit of everything, yeah. Mic man, everything.
So how are you finding the lockdown? Obviously, I don't know whether you were expecting how hard it was going to be, especially maybe 6 weeks ago. How you actually found it?
I'm quite, you know, I'm one of them guys that'll adapt to most things. So it's a bit boring, you know, especially when you're used to, you know, I've got quite a busy life, you know, running my own business and fight shows all the time. You know, we've got classes running all the time. So I'm out and about a lot. So it's a bit of a change being literally sat in the house day in, day out. So it is odd. And, you know, it's odd that, you know, literally, because obviously now I'm teaching classes from a front room. It's like my house is now my workplace, my relaxing place. I've got kids, so obviously we're doing the homeschooling as well. It's like the house is everything in one. But, you know, you get used to it. You got to adapt, haven't you, and carry on as best you can.
I mean, it looks like you're doing more training than you probably did before the lockdown with all the videos that are flying out.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like, I think there's a joke going around with the instructors is everyone's fitter than what they were before the lockdown. Because everyone's on the videos, getting involved with it, you know, like, because you're having to constantly cheat. It's not like a class where you sat and you show something, you're wandering around, you're in front of the camera. So, you know, you're constantly doing something. So it's, it's, you know, I'm probably doing more training than I've done in the last couple of years, to be honest.
Yeah. And obviously, being in MMA, I've seen how you're breaking it up into the different disciplines as well. So, you know, instead of doing one class where you can do a bit of everything, you've literally got kickboxing program, BJJ program, general grappling MMA program. And that's just for the kids. Then you've got the adults to do.
Yeah, the adults. So you got different age groups for the kids, because obviously, you know, with the kids, you're going to break it down. You know, your 4 to 6-year-olds are going to respond differently to stuff than your 7-year-olds and above are. Then you've got your adults, and you've got to tweak it all because it's, you know, the training environment's totally different now. It's a lot of it's solo training. You know, not everyone's got a partner, so you've got to take that into account. It's been interesting. It's kept me busy, and you know, kept my mind on having to adapt and work that way, which is cool. You know, I kind of enjoy the challenge of that sort of thing. That's what keeps me interested, especially with MMA. There's so much to break down, and because we're breaking it down to solo stuff now, it's kind of cool. You know, it's different challenge. That's the way I see it.
Different challenge.
Yeah.
So obviously, we've just touched on the kids, and obviously my lad trains with you guys. How do you actually get involved with actually deciding you're going to start training the kids and stuff? Because some people who aren't in the know think it's a bit taboo. They're like, oh, you're doing MMA and he's only 3 years old and stuff like that. What kind of made you decide to take that route? And then what do you say to people who aren't informed on what they actually do in the class?
I mean, like, the thing is, I mean, it's a large subject, the kids training, but it's like, you know, MMA to me is a sport at the end of the day. You know, it's a martial art. It isn't, you know, it's been a long time since, or in my opinion anyway, but I'm saying that I have been involved in MMA for a long time. So I remember its early days, and I remember, you know, how sort of a bad rep it got. But it's changed its, you know, its image, and it, you know, it's got them days of NHB and no holds barred and value to them, you know, them days are long past us. It's a whole different animal. It's much more professional now, and so to me it's a sport. So like any sport, you've got to have grassroots, and that's your kids coming through, you know, and kids are going to want to do it. So it's better that it's done under supervision and done under sort of expert guidance. So it's something that should definitely needs to develop, and it's something that we've spent a long time developing. Yeah. And if you come and watch I mean, you've been in with the tinies and the minis that we do, you know, they're not learning to cage fight. They're learning, you know, it's this, I don't want to go too in depth in like the stuff that I've with the different, so like, you know, the science behind it and stuff, but
yeah,
the learning
top secret, 12 gauge is top secret.
It's not, it's just it's long and boring. I think people will probably fall asleep. You know, they're just learning fundamental movement skills. You know, they're learning skills that they're going to then be able to use, even if they don't carry on and do martial arts, is my opinion. And I, you know, and what I kind of push with my coaches is I want them to, even if they go and do a different sport, I want them to have fundamental skills that will be transferable to whatever sport they decide to go in. Yeah. You know, they built up strength and flexibility and balance and coordination. They've built up all that. So if they decide to go on something else, then cool. At least they've got something from what they've done. Yeah, it's not just a case of punching and kicking.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine being able to do that when you were young? How old were you when you got into MMA?
I was 18.
Right.
I mean, I did kickboxing when I was I did Taekwondo first, tell a lie, when I was about 7 or 8. Did that for a couple of years and fell out of love with it. Then I did kickboxing when I was about 14 to about 16. I'd say did that for a couple of years, and then sort of veered off from that for a bit. And then I got into MMA when I was 18.
And you hit it full speed ahead.
Yeah, it just grabbed me, you know. It was, to be fair, it was a karate club that I started at, and he was sort of like playing around with MMA back then. You know, he had the UFC on videos on VHS.
That was the only way to watch it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's how we watched it. You know, imported UFC videos.
Under the counter videos.
That was it. You know, there was a web. Was it a website? Was it a mail? It might have been a mail order company that used to phone them up and they'd send you. They had all the UFC and all the NHB and Vale Tudo events, and you used to order them and they'd come. And a lot of the learning back then was just literally watch the fights and go right and sort of pause it, try and figure out the technique, and then we'd go and practice it in the gym the next day. I mean, obviously it's come a long way since then, you know. There wasn't, you know, nowadays it's a whole different ball game. There's BJJ black, you know, it's probably like 10 BJJ black belts in Stockport. When I first started, there was none. There wasn't even a blue belt in the UK. I remember the first couple of blue belts. It was crazy. You know, it was crazy. Everyone was like
official blue belts. Anyway, there's loads people claiming to have a belt.
Yeah. I remember the first sort of official ones. Yeah, like you're saying then. Yeah. Obviously nowadays it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah. I believe you got yours not too long ago. Was it last year?
My black belt. I got it. Feels like years ago, but yeah, it was last year. Mid last year, I think it was.
This 5 weeks, everything feels like years ago. Anything before lockdown was a distant past.
Yeah, trying to get, but yeah, it was mid last year, I think it was. So I got
what was that like receiving that?
It was cool. It was awesome. You know, it's. I mean, I've grappled for a long time, but obviously I only put a gi on. Probably I can't. I'm terrible with dates, but you know, a few years ago. So it was cool to sort of get the recognition, you know, and move up that ladder to get to that black belt stage. It's weird though. It's like you don't feel. It's a weird one. You don't feel any different. You've got a black belt on your waist. All it feels like now is you've got more pressure on your shoulders because you've got the standard that, you know. When I was a white belt, who'd been grappling for 15 years. It didn't matter. There's no pressure. As soon as you put a black belt around your waist, it's a whole different ballgame. So, but it's cool. It's cool. It's a nice accolade to have, and it was cool to receive it. Leo, our head coach, BJ's coach, he's a really, really top guy, and it was, you know, he's got sort of similar philosophies to me, so it was cool to receive off him.
Yeah. And obviously, going from your MMA career to owning the gym, what was that like? What made you take the plunge for that? I'm guessing that was a big decision when you first opened up.
It was, for me, it was kind of you know, to me, it was a natural progression. You know, I'd trained hardcore, and then I switched to competing for sort of 10 years. And then, you know, towards my last year and a half of competing, I kind of knew I was getting to a point where I'd had enough of it. You know, training twice a day, 6 days a week, it gets, you know,
now you're training 4 times a day, 6 times a week.
Well, yeah. Well, the difference was I was working a full-time job then as well. So I was doing like 12-hour shifts. So I'd get up in the morning, train, do a 12-hour shift in a factory, and then I'd go and train again in the evening. All my holidays that I got would be used to go abroad to fight. So it sort of started to have a bit of enough of it by the end of it. I loved it while I was doing it, but I knew it was my time to sort of move away from the competition side. And the natural progression to me was going to coaching. It was something that interests me. I like understanding a technique and breaking it down. So it made sense to go into coaching to see if I could break it down and pass it on to someone else. Yeah. So it was just a natural progression, really. And then I got more and more into the coaching. I decided to retire from fighting and sort of concentrate on that, really.
Yeah, obviously I saw you at Cage Warriors a few weeks ago. Well, God, not even a few weeks ago, was it? Months and months ago.
No, hang about it.
With Deck Dean, who's on the first night. You got a nice win of the night as well. What's that like to, do you see a bit of yourself in him? Do you kind of relive your experience for him, and you're gaining new experience for you as a coach as well?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got into fighting, I used to, you used to be very much like, you still are to a degree. You invested, you're really invested in the fighter. You're invested in their outcomes. But I've sort of changed my perspective a little bit. I'm there now I'm there as a guide and to help and to do anything that fighter needs. Yeah. So although yes, I'm invested in it, I'm there. It's my job to give them whatever they need and give them the advice or whatever they need. So I've over the last few years, I've tried to. It's hard because you do get emotionally attached, but try to pull the emotional side away from it and be, because I've got to give constructive criticism. You can't go in, when you see it, kissing people's asses. It's not gonna help them improve. Giving them easy fights is not going to help them improve. So I've got to do the hard jobs as well as a coach. So I try not to get too emotional with it, but it is difficult because obviously you spend lots of time with someone and you build friendships. But I've also got to try and keep that professional. My job is a coach, so I've got to keep that professional attitude as well.
Yeah, and how do you think the gym's going? Obviously, was it about 10 years ago? You think been going? It's a massive gym. I've been to a lot of gyms as well, and it's up there with the biggest gym I've ever been in.
Yeah, it's a crazy big gym. It's 8,000 square foot we've got. And to think, I probably started 10 years ago when I opened up. I rented off one of our friends' local gyms, Factory BJJ, who's up in Reddish. Adam, really cool guy. I rented off him, and I bet the gym was it's probably about 15 mats. That's about it. And now we've got this 8,000 square foot facility. So it's, the gym's going fantastic. And it's because we've got so many different programs running. We've got we've got our tinies running all the way through to our adults program. So it's hugely popular. And part of it's down to the fact that sports exploded as well. And the martial arts industry in general has got a lot bigger. There's a lot of gyms in the local area as well. But yeah, it's a big gym. And it's crazy to think that we've gone from such a small space to such a big facility. I mean, like I say, when I first started training, we were training in, gyms the size of bedrooms. 4 or 5 guys, holes in the wall because it wasn't big enough to train in. Yeah, but there just wasn't the demand. But now there is. We've got this 8,000. We've got a cage, we've got a ring, you got every padded walls, you got everything. It's a crazy facility, and it's cool that it's got to that. It's cool that we've got such a large facility and that so many people want to do it. It's cool to be able to be part of that.
Yeah, like we were saying with it blowing up, it's probably not even anywhere near the potential when you look at other countries and stuff like America. We're not even close to that yet, are we? I know we're getting there, but not even close.
No, not. That's the exciting thing is, I think MMA to a little bit has sort of hit a plateau point, but I think it's going to explode again. Yeah. Because the thing you have to remember is, especially in the UK, because it hasn't got any sort of governance to it yet. It's like boxing has and stuff like that. And like I'm part of the EEMA now. I was part of UKMF, and now I'm part of EEMA, and this is what's looking at sort of increasing governance, but more so the stuff that I've been working on with Dean Garnett, who runs Aspire up in Liverpool, bringing like official qualifications into it, which people be able to put on the CVs properly, not just some, you know, Mickey Mouse qualification, one that's actually backed by the government. Yeah. Which will mean apprenticeships can start to appear for the younger ones. You know, the younger kids can then go into education and go into sort of like sixth form education with MMA qualifications as well and become official.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Just like football has.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if all this comes in, this is going to then bring in, you know, we'll get backed by Sport England. It'll bring in funding. It's going to be amazing when that happens. And so think about how big it is now. When that occurs, boom, it's going to explode. So
you need to take the rest of the floor up that you're on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have to take the whole floor. Yeah. But I mean, that'd be amazing if we get to that stage, you know. And we are in the throes of this starting. It's going to take a few years, you know, for that to, you know, that to occur. But we're in the throes of it starting. That's what we started. Obviously, this lockdown's going to put everything back. You know, it's kind of years probably going to be a bit written off, but that's not a problem. It's going to occur, and it's going to be crazy when it does. And it's going to be amazing, you know, especially this is what excites me about the kids programs and the younger programs. They're going to have so many opportunities, and they're going to be able to make careers out of it and things as well. There isn't just careers as athletes, but careers as coaches, careers as, you know, journalists, everything. It's going to have all these career paths. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I know quite a few fighters at yours are doing like sports nutritional science and things like that, which is all part and parcel with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which nothing like that when I was, you know, leaving school. It wasn't even a thought. Football maybe, but definitely nothing to do with combat sports.
No, exactly. I'd never had the opportunity of doing anything like that. You know, I mean, there was hobbies. You know, you could do them as a hobby, but they weren't very big. And like you say, and football was probably the only sport you could go in that was sort of taken seriously. And you might be able to do some qualifications in, but you know, it was like everyone wants to do that. You know, I mean, I was naff at football, so you know, it was something that never really appealed to me. It was combat sports that appealed to me, and you know, and that's what I was really into. You know, boxing, kickboxing, and obviously MMA actually jumped at me. It just made sense. It was like a mix of everything, and you do what's best for the situation. So that's what appealed to me. And if we can then give those opportunities to the young, you know, that the youngsters coming through, you know, that we didn't have, that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. What do you think? What's your favourite for training? What do you prefer doing training wise when you're coaching? Do you prefer BJJ, stand up?
Coaching.
What's more fun? Yeah, when you're coaching, what's more fun for you to be teaching them?
I go through phases, if I'm honest, and this is what is good for me about MMA is because if I'm getting a little bit, you know, downtrodden with one end of it, like the striking side of it, the beauty is usually I'm inspired by the grappling side of it. Yeah. So it keeps me firing and keeps my brain firing. So I enjoy that part a little bit more. And then again, I might start when, you know what, I'm starting to lean towards the striking again at the moment. Yeah. It's something's fired me and triggered my brain and inspires me. So I like to teach. So I flip between which I prefer to coach. I enjoy coaching all of it, but I have moments where I'm inspired by a new idea, which will, you know, take me down that path for a bit. But that's the beauty of MMA is there's so many paths you can go down. You can always keep it interesting.
Yeah. So how do you get involved with EEMA? Because obviously, is that a branch? Is that just international?
So we had the UKMF, which was like the UK Mixed Martial Arts Federation, which was linked with IMAF. And then it switched over recently to the EEMA, which is, I'm going to have to get it right now, English Mixed Martial Arts Association. Yeah, which is the one that Dan Hardy and Mark Goddard and Rosie Sexton, Paul Sutherland, all them guys were on the board of it.
Right.
So they've sort of put together a what should I say, sort of job roles and a coaching role for the England squad that goes. You know, we've been going over to the IMAF stuff. Yeah. That goes over to the IMAF stuff, and they put so like me and Dean. So I'm the performance director and Dean is in charge of like the qualification side of things and stuff. So we're sort of working together on that side of things and putting together this England team. And we've got Mark Spencer as well and a lot of other people involved with it as well who are putting together these England teams and taking them over to IMAF. So that's sort of just developing and we've got quite a lot of people that want to volunteer, and anyone that does want to volunteer, head over to sort of like the EEMA Facebook page, and you can
I
sort
think
of
I might have seen something the other day with that, about 500 entries. Was that the same thing?
possibly, yeah. You know, we you know, like the team is getting bigger. It still has, you know, it still has a way to go. You know, at the end of the day, until funding's involved, athletes have to pay for themselves and stuff, which is obviously can be a bit of a negative. I understand that. But it is a huge platform. These IMAF tournaments are crazy when you go to them. You know, they've got like 500-600 athletes there, all competing, you know, from all over the world. And the standard is absolutely outstanding. You know, the Russians and the Americans, and it's crazy. So they're they are a fantastic platform, and you know, and I will push all our athletes down that way because I believe in it, and I do think if you want to be a professional, a good professional, testing yourself in these IMAF tournaments is the way to go.
Yeah.
And hopefully, as we get funding and the EEMA and the squads build, we'll be able to help the athletes go down that path more. But yeah, getting involved at the moment is like that the athletes can put their names forward to go for trials. And if like a coach wants to get involved, we are reaching out and trying to get more and more coaches involved as well, which obviously the more involved, in my opinion, the more involved people is, the better, the bigger it's going to get. You know, we've all got to sing from the same hymn sheet. Yeah. Can't pull in different directions. So we can get everyone together, the MMA community, then you know, this thing's going to be huge.
Do you have any say on any judging criteria or anything like that? Does that get into a little bit of a sticking point?
The judging criteria, I have absolutely no say on whatsoever. I'll be honest. I mean, like the judging criteria stuff is Mark Goddard's territory. He's the expert on that sort of thing. You know, and usually it's pulled internationally. You know, we tend to follow what's come down from sort of the UFC style level stuff. So that's done. I think it's more it tends to occur in America, and then drip feeds back down to us.
Last of line, we're always behind now, aren't we? Always behind on everything.
Always a little bit behind them, yeah.
Obviously,
we want to get this, you know, EEMA set up and get all this funding and sport funding, and we can be ahead of them.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Think the hardest thing, obviously, the normal MMA fan, I suppose, casual fan, only know about the UFC, only heard of the UFC, which is hard enough because unless you're staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning twice a month, you're not even going to be a fan then either.
Nope.
So I think it's about time, like we get like Bellator, Cage Warriors, you know, the bigger they get, the bigger it can get for everything.
Yeah, the bigger, you know, from a standpoint of the sport growing, better for athletes, the more promotions that are out there and growing, the better, really. You know, just having one promotion that's got a tight grip over everything isn't necessarily the best way for it to grow. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the UFC do a great, fantastic job, but I do think that maybe, you know, with more promotions out there, more opportunities, the more the sport gets into the more the sport of MMA gets into the limelight rather than the UFC. You know, you do that UFC. No, I do MMA. UFC is a brand and a.
You've not got a black belt in UFC.
No, it's a brand, mate. You know, it's like that's the conversation you have. Yeah, and it's getting people to understand that MMA is a sport. That's what we do. Yeah, so you know that's why you struggle with the promotion on local. It's all down to, you know, local fighters selling tickets to your locals. You know, the bigger it gets, the more eyes it gets on the sport in general.
Yeah. I'm still surprised people ask, you know, what does MMA stand for? It shocks me. It really shocks me. Still can't get my head around it, but it happens.
If people know what UFC stands for, I'd be interested to know that.
Well, I know what that stands for, yeah.
I'll be like, do you know what UFC stands for? No, it's just UFC, isn't it?
Ever fancy doing any boxing at all?
Did I ever fancy boxing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, but when I sort of stepped away from doing MMA, because I always wanted to have a dabble at everything, just so I can experience it.
Yeah.
I did K1. I did dabble at that. I enjoyed it. I've done obviously BJJ. I've done MMA. I've just I'd never got in and had a go at boxing. And I did consider it, but at the time when I was transitioning away into coaching, I wanted to concentrate on coaching and building the coaching side of things up. So I didn't really have time to do the training. And then I think I'm a bit too old for it now, to give it a go. So
leave it alone. Leave it where it is.
Leave it alone. I mean, I'm 40 this year, so
that's nothing. That.
Yeah, you think that until you go try and do a 12-week fight camp.
DC's 41, isn't he? 40, 41.
Pieces, and you're like, oh no, why am I not healing like I used to? Yeah, used to be Wolverine. I'm not anymore. Yeah.
Obviously, we are on Facebook Live, so I've got a few questions coming in. Mason, what's the best thing about being a coach?
The best thing about being a coach, you know what? It depends. I'd answer that differently if you'd asked me at different parts of my coaching career. At the moment, the part that I love coaching is the kids, because you see such a leap in their abilities and their ability to absorb all the information that you're giving. So it's really, really rewarding to coach the kids. Yeah, it's something that that over the last couple of years I've really sort of lent towards, and I'd say at the moment that's the thing I'm enjoying the most at the moment.
Nice. And Peter Knox is asking, if you could change one rule in MMA, what would you change?
I don't know.
This is his favorite question. This.
You see,
you only allow one as well. You can't just change the whole thing up.
Can I not go back to an HP rule? Yeah, because I'll be honest, I'd go backwards. I'd go back to, but I know for a fact that wouldn't help the sport grow. But like, that was kind of the craziness is what got me into it a little bit when I first started. So that was sort of, I don't know, change one rule. I'll go with the amateur rule set. Then I'd like to see knees to the head come back in. They've taken them out. For me, I didn't see particularly the point in that. I don't think it necessarily made it. Getting kicked in the face by a shin at full pelt is no worse than being kneed in the face. Yeah. So I'd like to see that come back in personally.
There's no foot stomps either, is there?
No foot stomps. No pride head stomps. No knees to the face. That's probably what I'd say. That's
you can't do elbows either, can you? In amateur.
Not amateur, no. I don't mind the amateur. I don't mind I can understand the motivation behind elbows because they cut, and that is what they're designed for. And it's not so much that they're devastating; it's more the cuts. And once a cut occurs, the match stops. Whereas the knees, to me, I don't know. It just didn't. The arguments they brought forward for it, I just didn't think the evidence fit. It was like you were taking away sort of this tool that made shooting dangerous. Yeah. The ability to knee someone in the head, and you're leaning more towards a grappling based side of things. The ability to get it to the floor quicker. And maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe they wanted that, that it was more grappling based. But in my opinion, then it's just say it. Don't come out with nonsense about it's safer than being shin kicked across the face, because it's not. Yeah. Just turn around and say, look, guys, we want to make.
I'll take your word for that. I won't want to test that one out.
Yeah. Just say, look, guys, we want to make it so it's we want to take a bit, make so the amateur side is a little bit more lean toward grappling. I've got no issue with that. Then I say, okay, fair enough. If that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, you just touched on how you'd like to take it backwards a bit, but it probably won't be beneficial for the sport. I think we had Brad Pickett on before with Katie Hunter, and he was saying like he'd lose the gloves, take it back to roots, pure fighting.
But again, he started probably similar times to me. Hey, Jack, how you doing?
Jack,
how you doing, mate? He started similar times to me, so he's probably got the same sort of. That was back then it was the fact that it was a little bit of a fringe sport was probably what pulled sort of like the old school guys in.
Yeah.
Bare knuckle and the fact it was the fact it was what worked. It was like, if the street fight occurred, would karate win? Would jiu-jitsu win? Would boxing win? It was that. That test of.
That's what started it off. Really.
That's what started. That was what interested me. That was the question that I was like, wow, this is cool. This is what everyone's always wanted to know about martial arts.
Yeah.
Which one's the best? Yeah. So going back to that, to me, is what interests me. So that's, I'd like to go back to that in a sense for me personally, But I totally get that it's never going to do that because that's not how we're going to grow the sport as a sport. Yeah. So that's just a personal thing. It was just what I found cool. I can just.
Which one's the best though?
Jeez.
Which one's the best though? Street fight. You can only have one. You can't mix and match. You can only have one disciple in a street fight. Which would you go for? One discipline.
One discipline.
You can't mix and match either.
Ooh. In a street fight.
Yeah. Same weight, same age.
Hands only. So
no, anything goes.
We're not talking of being jumped in the street.
I suppose when you actually go down to it, none of them really, is it? Because they all have their own little rules, don't they?
Exactly, you know, and this is what I always say to people. I say you've got to understand that the sport that you're, you know, I'm not a traditional, you know, like MMA guy. When we first started out, you know, some people can, jiu-jitsu guys sometimes do it as well. You know, they can bash traditional arts a little bit. And I'm not like that. I'm like, look, you know, karate was designed to be good against karate. Taekwondo's designed to be good against taekwondo. Is it crap? Well, if you put it against something that beats it, then yes. However, against taekwondo, it works. Yeah. And can you take elements and make it work? Yes, you can. You're seeing that nowadays. You know, people are going back to these traditional arts and pulling parts that work really well and making them work for MMA now. So you know, it's what is best is it depends on the rule set. That you give me a rule set, I mean, I'll tell you what tools you want to use for that rule set. Yeah. I mean, in a street fight, probably realistically, if it's just, you know, man on man, you probably look, you know, jiu-jitsu is probably you're gonna be able to nullify the situation at least and get yourself away from the environment. Is probably what I would say.
That's one thing I don't get when I speak to a lot of fighters, coaches. Rule number one in self-defense is don't be there. So, but people are going in there doing it anyway.
Yeah, the rule number one of self, you know, you talk, you know, self-defense is situational awareness, understanding what's going on around you. Yeah, so you don't get involved in the situation to start with. You know, if some shady character turns up down a dark alley, you don't walk down the dark alley. You know, it's rule number one. It's the self-defense of where you have to protect yourself is your last resort to where you want to be. But if you're situationally aware or you're in a pub that feels a bit, you know, like it's going to kick off here, yeah, leave. Don't stand there. It kicks off. You get bottled and you're shocked. It's like, no, mate, just leave. And yeah,
too much pride.
Yeah, you know, it's. I mean, but you know, when you're younger and you're full of testosterone, maybe it's a little bit different. Obviously, I'm older and I'm more mellow now. So yeah, but you know, it is self-defense is a situational awareness thing. You know, I mean, I'm not a self-defense coach. I'm an MMA coach. You know, but I do understand some of the aspects of self-defense.
Katie Hunter's jealous of your hair. She's got hair envy. You can't blame the lockdown. No, you can't blame the lockdown.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It's not like this. Is that normal? Yeah, I have a tendency to go through either a shaved head or really long hair.
Yeah, extreme.
Yeah, either one extreme or the other. Yeah, at the moment.
But see, I can't blame the lockdown.
Everyone's going to have the same as me by the end of the lockdown. Long hair will be in.
Yeah, it'll be in. You did the right thing all along.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you that, Katie. No, I'm not asking. Oh, go on. What shampoo and conditioner do you use?
Have I got to have a sponsor? I might get sponsorship.
Yeah. Well, not a lot of 40-year-olds have hair, so you might as well make the most of it.
Yeah, I want to make the most of it. Yeah, it's going grey though. You can't really see, but it's going grey. What shampoo and conditioner do I use? Head and Shoulders. Is that not what? That's what blokes use it. Whatever's the first in on the shelf when you get there. Yeah.
Quality. What else we got here? Ooh, who do you think is the top MMA coach in the world at the moment? That's MMA coach. It's not specifically to UFC, just MMA in general.
Struggle to answer that one if I'm honest. Don't know.
If you had to pick the phone up tomorrow for you yourself to have a private lesson with someone, who would it be? Like maybe your dream person. So maybe
I'd like to have a chat and pick the brains. Probably Greg Jackson. From just because I you know, I think MMA teams go through periods of success, and then they tend to, you don't hear about them as much as what you used to. Yeah. And I think that's down to the life cycle of a fighter and an athlete. You know, you get a couple of guys all coming through together at the same time, and then your gym has a quite notoriety, and you get your name out there, and then you fade away for a little bit while you're building your next branch of your of your team. But I'd like to have a conversation with Greg Jackson and pick his brains about a few things, just out of interest, the way he approaches game plans and stuff like that. I think it'd be quite interesting. You know, he's a very intelligent guy, and I think it'd be quite interesting to talk to.
Did you ever do much traveling for training when you were back in the day?
Yeah, I train. You know, I've trained in. I went over and trained in the States when I went over there for a couple of months and trained with Pat Miletich and Miletich's team, which at the time was the top team. I mean, obviously, their team doesn't exist anymore. But at the time, they were the guys that they had, like Jens Pulver, who had just vacated the UFC title as champion. Pat, I think, was still the welterweight champion. Oh, no, he wasn't. Matt Hughes was the welterweight champion. Who else was over there at the time? Tim Sylvia. Yeah, it was Tim Sylvia was the heavyweight champion. It was a who's who at the time of guys that were UFC champions. So I went and trained there, which was cool. It opened my eyes and made me realize that sometimes you can think to yourself, especially, you know, that what they're doing over there is different to what we're doing over here. They've got some secret formula that we haven't. Nonsense. We all train the same. Yeah. We're all doing very similar things. Yeah. What tends to differentiate, especially high-level athletes, is tiny, tiny percentages. And a lot of it can be mental rather than necessarily physical. Yeah. There's a lot of highly skilled MMA guys out there. So when I went out there, it made me realize that, which was cool.
Yeah, it's nothing special, but
well, it's just that you realize
you can easy copy it.
Yeah, you think, you know, you see these guys and they're all champions. You're like, they must be doing something totally different to what we're doing. And then you go over there, I was like, oh, no, we're not.
Drugs.
Well, yeah, I'll be honest. I had another thing in my eyes when I went over there. I was like, Jesus. Yeah, it's rife in sport, which is a shame. But I mean, it's different nowadays, I suppose. You know, it's a whole different testing criteria to when back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the high level guys, you know, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Best amateur fight you've ever seen? Best amateur fight. Pros next, but for now, best amateur fight you've ever seen?
Best amateur. Ooh.
That's from Cameron Chamberlain. Cheers, Cameron.
God, my brain doesn't work that well. It was a great. I'm sure it was. Was it Martin Chester versus Reese? Oh, what was the lad called that trained out of Ozzy Haloup's place? I can't remember his name now. Ashley Reese, is it? Ashley Reese.
Right.
But I think it was Martin Chester's. That was a great back and that jumps out in my memory at the moment. I see so many fights, and obviously because you see him every weekend, it's like I'm trying to remember back. I remember I enjoyed that battle. It was proper backwards and forwards. You know, from an entertainment side of things, It's always more entertaining when a fight swings either way, and it could go either way. I seem to remember that being a backwards and forwards battle that was great fun to watch at the time.
And what about for a pro?
Best pro fight I've seen.
Yeah, that is a tough one.
God, yeah. I don't know if I can answer that. Probably my favourite fight in my head. It's probably better fights out there. And my favourite fighters are probably going to be more old school than necessarily people who are into the sport nowadays a little bit. But Frank Shamrock versus Tito Ortiz is kind of one of my absolute favourites. I was a huge Tito Ortiz fan from his early stuff like UFC, I think UFC 16, something like that. And I think it was I can't say UFC 20, 21. He fought Frank Shamrock, and it was an absolute belter of a fight. And it was kind of where, sort of MMA and conditioning and athleticism all sort of came together in one. It was no longer a striker versus a grappler. Yeah. These guys started to be able to do everything, and it's a great fight, and that's probably one of my favourites, to be fair.
I mean, you're still seeing moves come out now that people are copying. It's still evolving now, isn't it? I know.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, it evolves, and it goes in cycles. Things become popular, especially because the high level guys will pull something off, and then the guys that are chasing that copy it, so that becomes popular, and other things drop off, and then it goes in a cycle, and all of a sudden this thing gets reinvented, and you're like, well, no, it's always been there. It just isn't as popular, and things go in cycles and come back round and come popular and not popular, and it's the same with leaning towards going at the floor with grappling or striking. It swings in cycles, and I do think everything goes around and comes back around again. Really.
Yeah, I think more recent ones would be front kick that Anderson Silva pushed off. Since that happened, everyone started doing that. Most recent, probably shoulder strikes. Conor McGregor. You don't really see that much, do you?
But it's crazy, it's like it went. I remember that actually, yeah, and everyone was going nuts about.
It's fake. Saying it was fake.
No one's never seen this before. I'm like, go back and watch one, man. Like 2, they were using headbutts and shoulder strikes, and flipping everything. It's just again, it fell off, and it's because someone high level, and in the limelight has brought it back in. It's it's popular again. It's always been there. It's just it's going to get used more at the moment.
A bit like if a football team does a special free kick one weekend, everyone else is going to try copying it next week, aren't they? It only worked for so long until everyone's used to it.
Yeah, and probably the better way to do it is look for the next big thing rather than copy the thing that everyone's doing at the moment. Yeah, so you're one step ahead.
Katie Hunter, best shows in your area to put your fighters on. What do you think the best shows for your guys are?
We put our guys on UKFC a lot. I get on really well with them guys. Steve and everyone up there. We Adam obviously at FCC as well. We put guys on there when we can. What else we got? North. Anytime the Cage Warriors stuff, Academy stuff is always great to put on. Obviously they travel around a lot. It's not always North based.
Must be happy to see him move into Manchester.
Pardon?
Must have been happy to see that we come to Manchester, and we did it again off the off chance just because of the lockdown. So surely that event's got to be like.
It's the one event I've been to that I went and watched. I was like, it was one event I've had in many years where I had a twitch to fight again. I was like, this would have been cool back when because obviously I never really got to fight in Manchester. Yeah. Being from Manchester, I always wanted to fight in Manchester and never got to do that. I always had to travel. So it was like, this is a nice show, and it's, I'd love to see Cage Warriors do a bit more in Manchester because we have got a big scene, I think, now.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of decent teams in Manchester and surrounding Manchester, a lot of big gyms, a lot of good. I think in general, the Northwest is a strong area for MMA anyway. So it'd be cool to see more Cage Warriors stuff in Manchester if we get it.
Well, I think we might do because we were talking about obviously the rest of the year and it might have to be behind closed doors. So far, the only tried and tested place is Bowlers Manchester, so hopefully it's an easy place to go.
It's an easy venue to run in it closed behind closed doors. It's got a lot of different rooms that you can use, different sizes of rooms, event rooms. So it makes sense if they could, if they're going to go behind closed doors for a bit. Hopefully Manchester will get more and more shows.
What do you think's next for Deck Dean? I'm guessing you were happy with his performance.
Deck's come on massively since he started training with us. He's one of them athletes that just listens and takes on board every bit of advice you give him. And because he came to us from just a pure Thai boxing background. Right. So he's come on huge. His wrestling, his grappling. He's got a very distinct sort of like wrestling style to his grappling, which is beautiful and perfect for MMA anyway. And his striking has just come through the roof. We've been working a lot of sort of movement drills with him because the difficulty with Thai boxing is it can be a bit static. We tend to stand in front of each other and give and take, and I've been getting him moving a lot more, and it's been showing his last couple of fights. So I'm really, really happy with that. So I think for Deck now is to start pushing for a few amateur titles, get his name up there, because he's fought everyone I've put in front of him, and I never ever give easy fights to my guys. It's something I don't believe in. Amateurs to test you in all abilities, and I've done that with Deck, and he's starting to shine now. So I think it's time to sort of push his name up there a bit and start looking for a couple of amateur titles if we can.
No pressure. No pressure on him.
Pressure for him. He's watching this thinking, what? I know, not
He's sat on the couch eating ice cream.
yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not fighting anytime soon, but but I'd love to. Yeah, no, in saying this, I'd love to see him get some titles. I mean, Deck will fight anyone. He's one of them. He's just game for a scrap as well. So I know he'll be up for it when I speak to him about it.
I know I've seen you, with the light sparring and stuff. Do you get involved with the heavy sparring with him? Or do you try and take it a bit easier? Yeah, you personally.
Me personally, no, not much. I'll roll. I don't mind rolling heavy, but I don't spar heavy anymore. I mean, we don't do that much heavy sparring, if I'm honest, anymore. I've kind of learned a lot over the years of coaching that it's not needed to the extent that we used to do it, which was every day. That's not needed to that extent. So I've learned a lot, and plus I'm 100 kilos, and a lot of my guys are 60, 70 kilo fighters.
So you do it because it's not fair. Is that your excuse?
Well, it's like you don't want 100 kilo bloke punching in your face. It's not very fair. I'll roll with them all. I'll rapidly roll with them all. Plus, plus it's my job, innit? I can't get injured. I've got to be a bit smart on trying to avoid injuries, because I can't coach with 2 broken legs. Well, I suppose I can. Still shout from the sidelines, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah. So obviously your career is your hobby. So what do you do on your downtime? Because what do you do anything apart from gym, MMA? Gym?
I've over the last few years I've learnt towards not. I don't watch as much MMA as what I used to. When I say I don't watch as much high profile MMA as what I used to. I don't watch as much UFC and stuff like that as what I used to do. But obviously I'm at shows all the time, so I still see a lot of MMA. But in my downtime, obviously I've got 2 kids, so I spend a lot of time with them. I quite like building my Lego models. That's what's behind me. Yeah, I've got these big Star Wars Lego models, bit of board gaming and stuff like that. I sort of turn my brain off where I can. But most of my time is taken up with MMA, the sport, and running a business and stuff like that. But that's what I enjoy to do, so I ain't going to complain about it. It's a
lot of patience to do about Lego. Well, you need a bonsai tree. Bonsai tree next to
it. I had a bonsai tree, but I killed it. So maybe I don't need a bonsai tree.
Quality. Right, well, cheers for coming on, mate. It's been great speaking to you.
My pleasure, mate.
It's been an hour already. Flown through again.
It's been
got loads of stuff I wanted to ask you. It just goes nowhere.
Yeah, goes like that, doesn't it?
When do you think lockdown's going to be over? Predictions? I mean, do you think you'll be the last to go back in? Unfortunately.
What, gym?
Yeah.
I swang on this. I was like, well, maybe they'll let gyms go because it's part of mental health and people's fitness, and it's important. If you want to defeat an illness, the fitter you are, the more chance you've got of beating that virus. Yeah. So if you're unhealthy, that's not going to help. But the way it's looking, the way it's difficult because the media talks such crap and just make stuff up on the, and they just make stuff up to put a story out there. So I do think we're looking like we more than likely will be the latter end of businesses being opened. I think they'll allow us to open, but I think we'll be slapped with restrictions on what we can do.
2-meter rule in sparring.
Yeah, we're gonna have to spar from 2 meters, like
separate cages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think we'll get slapped with some restrictions. But I can't. I think everything is going to be open sooner than what's being being put out there. I don't think we're gonna, like some of the stuff was reading yesterday. Everyone's like, "That's it, we're closed for the year." Like they're not going to shut society down for a year.
No, it just won't work, would it?
It's not going to work. Yeah.
Or if we do, we better get back on some more of them grants.
Exactly. Yes, that's it.
But it was 3 weeks for these grants. 3 weeks. That was 5 weeks ago.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? And that's what I mean. It's just not going to. I can't see it, but I do think we will be given restrictions, and I think it's gonna be frustrating for a few months. But my opinion is once we're let back in the gym, even with restrictions, that's something we can work around. Yeah.
It almost feels surreal that that's going to be a thing. Like walking in the gym it's gonna be a thing. Like you're gonna, you meet like it's not normal to walk in the gym.
It's like, wow, we're back. Yeah, it's weird. It's like you're starting to get used to being indoors all the time. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that humans are good at is they do adapt eventually, and and then they adapt, and then it's like you're getting used to being in your house all the time. So when you go out now, you go back to doing what you used to do. Like, this is weird.
Yeah. If you see someone you're like, oh, I don't know you.
Yeah. Oh my God, I've not seen you. Oh, it feels like years, but it's 2 weeks, whatever it is. Yeah, but no, I don't know. I think toward the end of. I mean, what they're saying, we've got 3 weeks, so you're looking towards the end of May. I think things will start reopening properly, and I don't know about gyms, but my opinion is they've sort of done grants for 3 months, haven't they? Which takes us to June.
Yeah.
So they're obviously that's their plan at the moment.
Yeah.
Whether it changes, who knows? I don't think they know, to be honest.
They don't know. I don't think anyone knows.
No.
I certainly don't know.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not in the. I'm not on a phone to Boris or anything. I haven't got a clue. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Oh, it's they. It's always they. They've done it. They know. Like, who's they?
Yeah, who's they? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, cheers for coming on, mate. I'll hopefully see you in the next couple of months.
I'm hoping so, mate. I'm hoping so. We'll get to some sort of normality, mate, and back to running around the gym, causing havoc.
Jack's enjoying doing the online stuff in the living room.
Is he enjoying it, mate?
George, we're still trying to get George to do it. Jack's really enjoying it, yeah.
Good.
George, we can't seem to just keep him still for more than 2 minutes to
do
it. We are gonna. George is 4 in October.
Is it that age, mate, where it's like, I mean, like, is it, like I said before, is it something called the YPD model, which is like the youth physical development? And at that age, all sport's supposed to be unstructured, where it is just supposed to look like chaos. If you can get them to do a squat and hop on a leg, it's like at least they're learning some sort of fundamental movement skill. Yeah. As he gets older, his attention span will kick in, and I'm no doubt he'll love it then.
But he's more brutal than Jack. That's the thing. Jack's got quite soft heart, whereas George will just go in and bully him. He's like 2 years younger.
It's like second siblings. Like my Jacob, my eldest, he's the softer of my two. My daughter is way harder. Jacob's technical, like I can teach him technique, but like Sophia's more than nutcase.
That's similar with us as that.
She's tough.
Well, you see her fighting. Does she do any? I know she does MMA, doesn't she? But does she do any like small competitions, stuff like that?
No, she's not expressed the want to do anything yet.
Yeah.
Jacob's expressed that. I'm of the belief I'm not going to push them because they're around it all the time with me. So I'm not going to push them. I let them come to me with when they want to train. And Jacob's getting to that age because he's 10 now. He's creeping to that where he's asking me to do it all the time. He wants to compete. He's asking to compete. Good. Yeah, I want him to have the hunger. He's got to have the hunger, not me. Yeah. I just want to do sport. I just want to do something that keeps him fit and active. And he doesn't have to be fine, but it's what he enjoys doing, his martial arts at the minute, which is cool. Sophia likes training when she's in the mood. Which isn't all the time, but she hasn't expressed an interest to compete yet. Whether she will when she gets older, I don't know.
Jack was good because that first week of lockdown, that's the week before that, I asked if he could do the sparring with the other kids. So that would have been his first week where he could go in there. So
go in and give it a go.
Yeah, I was surprised he asked, to be honest. I could expect it from George, but when he asked me, I was quite surprised about it.
That's good. If he was asking, that's perfect. That's what you want, that. that passion from them to want to step in there. And
I made him go and ask Billy. I thought, I'm not asking for you. If you actually want to do it, you go and ask.
Yeah, go and ask the coach. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool. I can tell he enjoys it. He's always got a smile on his face. So that's the key. Is it's about keeping them involved in sport. You know, because what we don't want is them to do it till they're 12 or 13 and then go, I've had enough of this because I've been pushed, and prodded. But what we want is when, you know, they love it. So when they get older and they want to carry on with it, it's fun, you know, they've got more of a chance of, you know, making something, you know, if they want, that's what they want to do, you know, making a career of it, which some of them want to do that, which is cool. And gives them more. Plus, it keeps them active all their lives, which is important, isn't it? You know, it's not just about the competition side of things; it's about healthy lifestyles as well.
Definitely.
Cool.
Big circle. Yeah, nice one. Cheers, coming on, mate. Have you got any more training to do tonight? You not got any more videos going out? No.
I'm done, mate. I'm done. My feet are going up and having my tea.
Shut the camera off. Shut the camera off. Get it done.
Cool.
Right, nice one, mate. Take it easy.
See you later, guys. Cheers. Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
See ya.